Hey everybody, Jeremy here. So I want to today talk about, something that I see that's like unfortunately really common in the advertising community, and that is faked or misleading screenshots of Ads Manager performance that people use to try and get clients. So I want to start off. I'm not going to talk today about Photoshop or people stealing screenshots, right? That's a totally different issue, and I can't do anything about that, right? If somebody's going to lie straight up, they're going to lie straight up. What I want to talk about though is the way that people can manipulate ads to kind of show better performance than what you would normally what's actually going on, right? Like basically using real stats to mislead. And first off, like people posting screenshots of performance, I mean, I don't necessarily hate it. Like I've done it myself, right? I did it the other day and I got like, 4 new inquiries from potential clients, right? And like that wanted coaching or wanted to become like an active client or whatever, right? And I think it's fine. People want to know that you can actually do the job. They want to see performance, and when you talk about your performance, right, like it's showing a competency. So I get that. That said, it's become kind of like a poor proxy for like skill, and I think that a lot of, unfortunately, the bottom feeders in this world have looked at basically have looked at this as like an opportunity for themselves in order to kind of game the system, right, and get a bunch of people to believe that maybe they're a little bit more skilled than they actually are, right? And so I want to show you some different ways that people can manipulate these results. So first off, when you're looking at results, right, one thing to be wary of that a lot of people do is they'll show you the ROAS number, return on ad spend, right? And return on ad spend is a useful number because you typically want to think about your advertising kind of in terms of like, dollars in, dollars out, right? Media buyers and advertisers in general just really like that number too because they can't control, in many cases, your cost of goods sold or the margin on your product, right? And so it's kind of a nice little proxy for saying this is how like the actual ad account is performing, right? I mean, not the ROI of your entire business, but it's a helpful metric. So oftentimes they'll show ROAS numbers. Now ROAS numbers can be manipulated a few different ways, and I'm looking at like kind of a smaller account right now, right? So maybe somebody takes a screenshot of ROAS numbers and they'll include a bunch of other these metrics in there so that it looks very impressive and official, but maybe they'll cut off the amount spent, right? ROAS numbers on a couple $100s of 10, 20x, still great. There's nothing wrong with that. This is an exceptionally good account, in fact, with ROAS wise. They do very, very well. But a couple $100s doesn't really tell the whole story, right? Like at scale, I mean, I also have accounts that spend thousands of dollars a day, right? Like, and you would never ever get, those kind of ROAS numbers ever out of them. Right. And so I think that like small spends, just because the nature of it being a calculated metric, that ROAS, it's easier to manipulate. Right. So if I spend $10 and I get $100 at sales, right, like that's a 10x ROAS, which is super impressive, but it's $10. You know what I mean? Like the absolute numbers are kind of obscuring the calculated metrics. So another thing that they'll take the screenshot without the amount spent, right? And you could customize the columns to get rid of that too, right? Customize columns, let's just get rid of amount spent. Boom, done, easy. So I apply it, and then I'm just going to take this screenshot. Maybe I'll underline the cool ROAS numbers, right? And hope that nobody calls me out and sees these over here, right? Another thing that people do, they'll oftentimes cut off the names of the campaigns. They'll say it's for privacy. In this video, actually, they're blurred, as you notice, right? Because like privacy, that's a thing. But what they will do instead, right, is they'll only show you maybe the like bottom of funnel, right? So they won't give you a holistic look at the campaign. They'll just say, hey, oh, look at my monster ROAS numbers, right? But what they're doing is they're neglecting all of the top of funnel traffic and the middle of funnel traffic, right? They're just showing the people that added to cart and then they retargeted with an ad and they ended up converting, right? And that isn't really helpful, right? That's only like a very small snapshot of like kind of this larger story. And when somebody does something like that, they're potentially obfuscating because they'll, maybe their bottom of funnel has, a 20x return, right? But in the case of the overall, it's like 1 or 2x, right? So that's something to keep in mind as well. Another way that they can be manipulated is with dates. I'm showing you right now February 1st through April 22nd, right? But if I just show you just yesterday, oh my gosh, I've got 162x ROAS, bro, right? Like, an individual day can be very good, another day might be very terrible. So what they could do is they could just go through and find a range of dates that tells a very specific story that they're trying to tell without any context around those dates, right? So maybe they just had like a fantastic week, but over the last year, 51 out of 52 weeks have been losers, So I think that it's really important to watch out for that. Other things that they can do. So if I click on my bottom of funnel campaign, you don't know often if they're cutting off the campaign name or if they're cutting off entirely. Is it at the ad set level? Is the campaign maybe losing money, overall? And like I'm just seeing a couple of ad sets, right? Is it even more insidiously, right? Like, am I cutting out the bad ad sets even more insidiously? Am I just taking it at the ad level, right? Maybe I'm just not even showing you, maybe I'm just showing you literally an individual ad that is like performed really well in a sea of losers. You know what I mean? And so that's another way that people can manipulate it. Finally, I want to show you something too that people can do. And that is, if they go to customized columns, they can do comparing attribution windows, and they can do 28-day view. Now, Facebook standard attribution is 28-day click, 1-day view. Some people don't like that. I'm not going to really get into that argument right now. It's not what I'm trying to like. It's not the point I'm trying to make, right? Everyone's going to have their opinions. But, if I look at, my standard attribution, right? And this is 28-day click, 1-day view, right? Oh, it's 13x here. But if I look at a 28-day view attribution, right, now it's 19.9x, right? These numbers are all pretty good because this is like a well-performing account. But you got to keep in mind that people will, go look for like these sort of different comparing windows and stuff. And look, this is just a handful of examples of how people can, manipulate these things in order to kind of show you a story that's very favorable to them, but isn't really realistic of like what's going on. And so I just want you all to be safe out there. Don't just jump at the first like cool performance screenshot when it comes to hiring an agency or a freelancer or consultant or whatever. Scrutinize those a little bit, right? Ask specific questions. If they can't answer them or get defensive, that might be a bad sign. Now, I'm not saying ask specific client questions because, any advertiser worth their salt is going to be under like a non-disclosure agreement of some sort, right? But they should be able to like talk more about the account in an intelligent way, right? Like what strategies sort of worked for them, right? Like even high level. I would encourage you to, have a conversation. If you feel like it's weird, walk away. They're not, and if you come back later, they're not gonna. They're a business. They're not gonna like be personally offended, or at least most people wouldn't, right? They want your money, And so I think that just be careful out there, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I was talking to a guy on my podcast earlier today. I'm recording an episode, and he was saying that, overall, right, at the 50th percentile, basically the top of the bell curve, people are getting about 2x return on ad spend, right? If you think that like 30x is realistic for your business, if somebody promises you that, somebody promises you 10 or 20x, be just extremely skeptical, right? That's not my experience. If I'm having a client that has this very successful account, oftentimes that will be 3 to 5x return. Maybe some exceptional ones will be 10 or more, but not at scale usually. Right? So I just want you all to be safe. I don't want anybody to get scammed. There's too many unfortunate scammers in this space, too many people that are trying to take advantage of people that just want, help with this stuff, because it can be confusing. And so just be safe out there, scrutinize screenshots, which seem like they should be, a better way of vetting somebody, but unfortunately it's been taken advantage of. So stay safe, watch out for scammers, scrutinize things, and best of luck with your marketing, everybody.